Hello guys, Kingless here from the Dark Sword Armoury, and today we're going to be looking at this really interesting and odd sword from the Dark Sword Armoury. So, I first saw this sword when about maybe a month ago. What happens that we were going to, me and the HEMA bros, we're going to HEMA tournament in the Montreal Sword Meister tournament. That was held in about a month ago. And what happens is that since we're in Montreal, we kind of figured out we should really stop by Dark Sword Armoury. I do have one or two pieces of the product, and I just really like them. Just because they look really good, they bounce really well. The price point is, if you're locally, it's pretty affordable for what they are, because they're really nice artwork. And so in that case, out of all the swords that I've seen, I came across this really interesting sword. I've never seen anything like it. It is essentially an amalgamation from a really interesting 15th century Katzberger pommel, which of course they already have a line already. I believe the sword is called Sovereign. I'm going to put a picture somewhere. And we have a very short hilt. And what happens is that this is the weirdest part. It is on a paring dagger handle. This is really interesting. Holy crap. In any case, but what's really interesting about it is that not just because of the pommel handle and the handguard being really nice, because now it fits in your hand beautifully well. We have that 2-point of contact. Well, technically 3. So, of course, first point of contact, we have the handle. We have a bit on the pommel. It just fits perfectly, like right there. And if you put your hand right up against the thumb ring, the crossguard ring, it actually gives you really good control. But now what's really interesting is that this is a terrifically long blade. I'm going to get my measurement tape. So, coming to the measurement here is that on this blade itself, we have from tip to the actual guard, it's a 36.5-inch blade. That is so long for anything that looks like a paring dagger, which of course paring dagger would be, something more like this. So this is my Delton paring dagger, and of course we are going to see some similarities. Well, of course we have the swept out handle guard. Ironically, of course, in the paring daggers is even bigger than that of I don't know what this is. And so we are going to see a very similarity in terms of the length of the guard. So it means that it implies that it is, of course, a single-handed object. So, Coaching that it's Armoury's recently posted a video about how does the pommel actually tell you about what the sword actually functions and do. And of course, Matt Easton a while back actually tells you the handle of a sword will tell you how it's behaved. So now let's get into a couple of different specifications. As I mentioned, specification-wise, we have a really short handle. The actual hand grip itself comes to only about, let's say, 2.5 inch. And of course, the pommel, it's another 2.5 inch, giving you about a good 5 inch. The actual placement of the sword, which is of course the hand guard, where you're holding it, the handle which you're holding it comes to about 4 inch. 4 inches comes to right about kind of like a hand. So, and of course, we are gonna have a really short, narrow handle that comes to about 5 inches. The finger ring, it comes to roughly about 1.5 inches, something like that. And I took a measurement from it. The weight of it. The weight only comes to about 900 grams. Which is a really nice, light and nimble sword. If I would have to take this and really do swing it around, Tromazone and everything else in between, it is so fast. Really good false cut, really good strong. And I actually would not mind even pairing this because I find it to be a very, very, quite a good blade. If we are going to be hitting it on the point of percussion, we are going to be somewhere about right here. So, point of percussion, we get about good 25 inch. 25 out of 36, so we are literally right at the 1/3 of the blade is a point of percussion. Absolutely fantastic. So, I would have no, well, of course, the blade came super dull. Like you can't even shave anything with this. And of course the point is not, well, I mean, pointy. If I want to stab someone, it's probably do something. But it's actually a very stout point. We are gonna see a fuller, of course, well, it's not called blackberry, but fuller, guys. From, oddly enough, this is super weird. We're gonna be seeing, well, the Dark Sword Armoury logo. We're gonna see a good 1.5 inches of ricasso. Ricasso usually is what happens that if you have a blade, you want to put your finger over it so you don't cut yourself, right? So that's a ricasso. And of course, a lot of the rapier sword that we see, there's another built in. We are gonna see a ricasso that's gonna be like that. Now, I mean, a couple of things that a lot of swords actually do have a ricasso in there. And does it always symbolize that you have to put your finger over ricasso? Not really. You will find some swords later on in the century that has ricasso that you don't really finger it. It's just because it's an aesthetic thing. Or because, well, you don't have to, sharpen and smash your blade and stuff like that. But in any case, given this that we are going to have a fuller that comes to almost 1/3 of the blade, and so meaning that we're going to have a really nice diamond section, not entirely perfect yet. Now, getting to the very tip of it, we are going to still follow that sword geometry of that diamond fuller. Oddly enough, then again, after the ricasso, is that, after the fuller, it feels a little thicker. I haven't done an actual thickness test of it yet, so I don't really know why is it behaving like that. But of course, as a swinging one, as a cutting weapon, it is actually really, really nice. So, next question is, what is this? Well, so from what I heard from our Dark Sword Armoury, it's one of the colleagues who put something together, and this is just what he made. I tried to get Chris from Dark Sword Armoury. He's like, hey, can you give me more sources? What is this? Yeah, can't find anything. Well, at least he didn't find me anything yet. But hey, you know what? I can always keep bugging him, and I'm gonna probably make a follow-up video. So, next part is that, let's talk about each and every part of it as for what it is. So, first part is we're gonna be having a pommel. Pommel is gonna be, this apparently is from the Sovereign Sword. And the Sovereign Sword pommel, it's a 15th century sword. For some reason, they actually casted 19th century Victorian Katzberger. Yes, a Katzberger, which is going to be a sword that we see from a Landsknecht sword. We are going to see a very similarity in terms of the pommel where it's actually rounded, and with a really big knob. So this kind of implies that it is a sword meant for swinging. Maybe, maybe not, because rapiers, they can still have this really high thrusting, and it's made for a counterbalance. But this kind of implies that, if they stuck this pommel onto a sword that is meant for a Katzberger, does it mean that this is a link between a Katzberger and a side sword and a rapier? Well, I'm gonna say this sword is more like a fantasy recreation of what I like in a sword. This is cool. Well, the thing is that they never had it in the actual line product, so maybe it's just some guy putting it in during his first week at work, or when he's really bored and just want to put something together, and this is really cool, and that's why I picked it up. So, in any case, getting back into that, we are going to be seeing this sword having a Katzberger handle, a short little round handle. Now, round handle, what does it tell you? It tells you that round handle swords are more nicer for thrusting. That we see on a lot of rapiers. They do have pretty round handles. But when it comes to cutting department, we don't really get much of a feedback. Because if I hold it, if I hold it straight, and if I hold it in 45 degree, or if I hold it at 90 degree, I couldn't tell. My hand just feels exactly the same. I'm just going to close my eyes, spin it. Do I feel any different? No. I don't even know what that is. The only time I feel it is when the ring actually feels my finger. I'm like, I don't know where this is. Let me turn this back on. So, what does it mean? It means that whoever put this in mind have mostly thrusting in mind. Well, obviously, it's a really long blade. And when it came, this blade is completely unsharpened. So, it has a fold. It has almost like an apple seed fold. Apple seed is when the blade kind of rounds to the side. It's not a whole grind. Whole grind is the other way around. It rounds. So, there's a lot of structural integrity in the middle of the spine. They try to reduce the weight by using a folder systems. So, the handguard wise, handguard allows us to, of course, get a really nice parry. So this could imply that this sword is meant for a parry, a lock, and a whole bunch of systems that require these these kind of twist up. Where do we see a lot of these twist up, swept kind of handguard? Mostly, well, on parrying daggers, because we are going to be, that's my parrying dagger. So we are going to be seeing a lot of these parrying dagger where you're supposed to catch the sword, hopefully it rise down so that you can actually do something to the opponent's sword to get you that 1 second for you to kind of check the check or whatever you want with it. So I do find it very interesting. And it's also very interesting how they're so small. It's so tiny. It's just, oh wow. I'm going to put this down now. Hold on, I'm going to fix that so I can check myself and good enough. Okay, it just implies that this sword is meant for probably either it's a really nice dress sword because you can just hold on to it, it doesn't block you, it doesn't bother you at all. But now if it is, then why is it so long? So getting to the next part is that as a civilian part of dueling weapon, would I probably use one of this? Well, yeah, I picked that up because I really like the sword. And at first I went to Dark Sword Armoury, fully thinking that this is not for sale. Because they're like, oh, some guy put it together, it was just made in the shop. Oh, how much is it? I don't know, I don't even know it was on sale. Well, and then Chris pulled through, and he sold it to me. So, what happened is that, do I think it's a really dueling weapon? Maybe if you are going to be, let's just say, using two swords, and you need one sword, the parrying dagger, probably. Because the thing is that, in the 16th century, where Katzberger, Handel, and of course these very well-known parrying daggers that swept out, it's a very 16th century thing. And during that time, if we're going to be following sources, let's just say the Bolognese systems, we are going to see a system of two swords of a very similar length. So I suppose that's what it is. As a second, maybe it's a left-handed sword. Because with a parrying dagger hill, where we do not have a knuckle bow, or we do not have any external factor where it tells us where your finger should go, meaning it's a ring on finger ring on one side or finger ring on the other. Example, just like this Deepika Opera Nova sword right here, is that there's no telling you, should you hold it on your left hand or should you hold it in your right hand, because it's both sides. And of course, this sword is a relatively rounded handle, and it's just, well, then again, when you have finger ring, you know where your edge is at. I'm not going to talk too much about this because this is I think there's a cheaper version of what Albion is selling for their Bolognese swords. It's just a really cheap version. I like it still, but would I recommend people to get it? Probably not. But in that case, so back to the sword. So in the context of that time, what did we have? 1 second. Okay, so getting back to this, so we're going to be seeing an emergence of dueling gauntlets. They, yes, back then they actually have dueling gauntlets where it's either full hand systems or they even have a chain of mail on the inside. It means that when you are receiving an attack from a rapier or side sword or anything like, if you're getting a thrust, you could put your hand along the blade and just shove it away, or you can easily grab the blades. So during that time, plate mail was actually very, very developed. And of course, chainmail. Chainmail was still around being used, of course, inside a hand or inside anything else. So what could this be? And something this long, it means that it is from a distance, from very far away, that you can thrust. As example, like 18th century Spadroon side sword. Spadroon and small sword. This is what reminds me of them. And so let's just say I'm gonna grab Spadroon really quickly. You know what, I'm just gonna grab another small sword. So this small sword is made by Deltin. And we are gonna see a lot of similarities in terms of the blade profile. Whereas this one, of course, is a lot longer and is a lot more beefier and heavier, where this is a lot more lighter. But however, we will see that they are very, very similar in terms of, let me hold it like that. They're very, very similar in terms of profile, handle, and pretty much anything else. Especially when it comes into the point control. So, alrighty. Furthermore, it's a very stout blade, and there's not a whole lot of flex in it. That's literally how much flex, meaning it's a very, very stiff blade. So during that time, what I think this is, I would love to use it as an anti-armor weapon. Why did I say that? Well, if you're going to be horseback riding or anything else, and you are on a battlefield, you can easily have this on your side. It's short enough that you can easily draw it out. And if you are on horseback, you could easily use this almost like a little like a tiny little lance, or when you just want to really spike on someone. You can still cut as well if it was sharpened. Would it do really well? Probably not. If someone has armor, probably not. Even a jacket. I'm pretty sure even jackets you wouldn't be able to cut through. It's like a doublet or, well, they don't have gamuts and like that. But I'll say a doublet or really thick clothing. However, it is really, really good if you are going to be thrusting at someone. So, and another thing is that if I were be on a combat situation and I need to really hold something in a gauntlet, this fits perfect. So you see how the pommel, and the pommel itself, it just perfectly covers where my hands need to be, the exposed part of my finger. And if I want to hold it reverse grip because I want to really use it like an ice pick, look at how nicely that covers. It is just perfect. And with the flat edge, if I really want, I can put my other hand onto it and just shove it right down and drive that point into someone. And of course, this is coming after, let's say, wrestling. Or if I really are, well, then again, if you're wrestling, you probably wouldn't want a sword this long. However, if you just want to really, really shank someone, you can just go up to someone and just shank them right there. And you can still easily grab it with your gauntlet. And this being a very, very stiff blade, would it be very useful for male penetration? I want to say yes, because a lot of times swords, say like a piercing sword, or as famously like an estoc, the sword geometry is different. But in any case, and I don't have an estoc for some reason. In any case, as an estoc, that's exactly what they're used for. There are estoc that are relatively short. They don't always have to be like these amazingly large gray sword looking sword. Because at that point, those estocs are around that long. It's probably more or less like they use like a little lance. There are estoc just the length of a longsword, and they're not really that impressive looking. It's just a very simple guard and just a really long spike, and that's it. They don't have to cut. And so I'm thinking that this could actually be used as almost like a mini estoc. Because if you need to really, really parry, let's say half swording, you get someone, you get a good bind onto it, it doesn't take much for you to really kind of deflect a blow, for you to really drive a punch. A lot of the longsword treatises where we can actually half sword, 37 inch to maybe up to 42 inch, it's a really good length. As you can see, I am holding it by almost a shoulder width. I can parry really nicely, and it's not a whole lot of sword for me to drive into somebody. So this is almost what I like to say as a cross between, or as a kind of one sword and done, between a civilian weapon and a battlefield weapon. And of course we do see swords that are civilian and battlefield weapon used, but then again, all the samples that I found are kind of like really nice and parade use. So I don't know if they're used yet, but in any case, I just really, really like this sword. Would I want to create a recreation of one that I can use for HEMA training so I can test it out? Absolutely. So I think what I would do is I probably would get one of my paring dagger, which I put down, and I'm gonna stick a pretty long blade into it, and I'll see how it goes. The only trickiness is that finding a pommel this nice for sparring use. But you know what? I actually use Dark Sword Armoury hilt component with my other sword, and they perform beautifully at a tournament, meaning tournament setting, getting bashed around and stuff like that. And there's, I mean, yeah, you get some nicks and stuff like that, but they hold up really well. So if you guys ever want to kind of chimera something and play around with it, or if you have a Dark Sword Armoury sword on your own and you want to use it for a combat situation, I say hit them up and ask them for extra hilt component. The guard, the handle, the pommel. From there, you can probably stick in any other HEMA training blade. Now what I've done is I actually stuck on an armor class blade onto their dodge sword, whatever it's called. But in that case, as long as you make sure that your blade can fit into the actual handle component, then you're good to go. I mean, if you're not, you can just take a file and just file it right off. So, all in all, what I want to fantasize, once again, because I don't even know what this is, right? I really want to fantasize that this is really the missing link between the early century Katzbauer, of course, Katzbauer, and of course being a wartime kind of weapon, that they kind of need something that's piercing needed, and so they probably stuck it on a rapier blade, or side sword blade, or an estoc blade, whatever is short, skinny, probably a rapier at that point. And with that hilt component of the 16th century, it's a really interesting, weird amalgamation of an early, it's actually kind of funny, early 16th century, well, wrappings, whatever, and middle to even late 16th century or even 17th century with a rapier blade. I just thought this thing was so fascinating when I picked it up. So, once again, it's King Glaze here from the Dark Sword Armoury, and I really hope you enjoy me explaining to you this weird, funky little toy that I got. I'm gonna come in and do a couple of close-up in 1 second. So, alright, here we go. So, we're gonna see a beautiful handguard in the middle with one very simple ring that has been twisted just on top. Does it add any staple structural stuff? Not really, but it looks really beautiful. And of course, this sword is mirror polished with the fitting on the handle to the blade being completely tight, solid. Handle-wise, excellent wrapping. It's a leather with cord wrapping on top. Well, there's no cord. And then we get the classic. I always wanted to call these the Maximilian Palma because I have seen examples of these on Maximilian swords. But then again, it's a Katzbauer sword. And of course, we have a really, really tight peening going on. Like that peening is just really nice. Look at that. It's a beautiful flower. And of course, it fits perfectly in your hand. If you put your hand around it, it fits really nicely. And of course, we have the Dark Sword Armoury logo right here. The cute little eagle thing. And then we have the sword. And then of course, now we're getting into almost about 24 inches of it. From the fuller, oh look at that gloss, to a diamond cross section. And the point is not too acute. We are still going to see some of these. I find it very interesting how one side is actually bulkier than the other. Then again, it's still a lot better than what a lot of other swords in the museum you will see. For imperfections, we are going to see that the handle on one side, it's a little bit more smaller and a little bit more, this is more curved out. This is more of a rub curve. I'm not sure you can see. This is a little bit more rub. This is a little bit more gentler. You see how that's more like a 45-degree angle right here? And that's more like a straight drop. But then again, you know, these are all handmade stuff, right? So it's pretty nice. And this sort of, oh. Yeah, it's not entirely even, but that's okay. You see that? The pairing dagger is actually, the pairing quillen is actually slightly on the outside, which is great because when you parry something, you want to kind of catch it first, right? So, in any case, that's a little bit of the detail on there. And, of course, with every Dark Sword Armoury sword that you buy, you would get a cool little poster. When this came out through the box, I thought, oh my god, wow, they gave me a scabbard! And I'm like, yeah, no. A lot of swords you buy from Dark Sword Armoury do come with scabbards, and you can have the option to buy it. I say, please go buy the scabbard. They are really nice. Okay, so I have a poster of theirs before, and I don't know what this one is. So we're gonna open up and see what's up. So this is going to be quite a lot of different guard that you can see in longsword. For Himayus, we also have guards for sword and buckler and the ball and names treatises. Oh my god, I love this. And then on the other side is a little catalog for all the other swords that they have. Look at that. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so, oh, perfect timing. Right here. right here. That right here is what the Sovereign right here, the Sovereign sword with that cross guard right there. And I just love that cross guard so much. I've been bugging them to just sell me a pommel or something like that. And it's I think at that point when I wanted it, it was a bit of a weight to it. That's okay. I probably will get one eventually. So once again, if you guys are ever close to Montreal, I don't know if they are appointment based, but what was that? I think it was a Saturday. Sorry, Friday. Yeah, I think it was no, it was a Saturday when we arrived, and we just popped by, and it's a little bit more not a really central location. You kind of have to drive a little. It's like 15 minutes away from the local Walmart, but once you get there, it's a cute little industrial place, like a little shop by a bunch of plaza, not retail store plaza, but like, you know, millwork and metalwork and like logistic stuff. And you just drive in and you see this cute little shop in there, and they have a cute little armory set up, and you can see every single sword. You can handle them. Chris invited us when we get there, and they are just so friendly. Freaking love it. And so from there, what happens at I found that guy. I'm going to be posting a little bit videos of my experience there. They have a bunch of antiques, beautiful, beautiful example of really nice, light, nimble swords that you see there. And of course, all the other fancy swords. So before you commit, let's just say, whoa, a Dark Sword Armoury. Yeah, a Dark Sword Armoury sword is like in several $100. Because yes, that guy right here, I bought it. Actually, this one's actually very cheap. It's only $375, something like that, $315, something like that, in Canadian pricing. And of course, shipping was like $30. Well, it's local, right? I am just one province away. But in any case, it is a really, really cheap sword. For something this nice, for only 300 something, close to 400, what a steal! Like, you can't even get a training sword at this price. And of course, once you're getting, let's say, stuff like the Sovereign or Sword of Alexandria, you are going to be seeing a price tag after shipping and shipping and handling. You're going to get too close to $1,000. So let's just say, oh, I don't want to commit to it. I don't want to buy one yet. Well, I say perhaps you can message Chris or anyone else in Dark Sword Armoury. It's just like, can I pop by and check out a sword? If I like it, I'll buy it right off. Because they do sell a lot of the models that they have there, and they have quite a bit of a shop. And I really want to visit the back of the shop. Unfortunately, you can't really because safety issue. Well, a lot of times in Canada, if you want to go in the back of someone's shop, you need steel-toe boots, and of course, sometimes they run a hard hat. At that point, of course, we're in a HEMA tournament. We don't have any of them. So, hey, I opened the door, I took a sniff, and oh my god, it smells like fresh leather, amazing cut wood, not a scent of rust, and it is so refreshing. I don't know if they made most of their blades there. I didn't see anything, but I see that they make a lot of scabbards, a lot of their leather work, and I'm sure they are more or less cutlers. Cutler being, let's say, people who are going to be putting sword parts together. So, which is why I'm beginning to think that, well, whoever was working there was just have some time and they want to make their own blade, stamp their ego onto it, and just kind of put a sword together that is like, well, you know what? This is my masterwork, and I freaking love it. And you know what? I freaking love it. That's why I bought it. It would be so funny if that staff came back and be like, oh my god, what do you do with a sword? And Chris like, I sold it. It's like, holy shit, you sold it. I don't know, I just love this thing so much. Well, once again, I think I rambled enough. So once again, this is a really, really extraordinary, unique one-off piece from Dark Sword Armoury, to the point where they don't even have a name on it. If they did, I have to check my invoice, but if they did, they're gonna have, I'm gonna put something here. And this is what I want to fantasize as what a Katzberger war sword would be if we stuck it on, meaning a battlefield weapon, if we stuck on a mini estoc. That is for armor combat. Well, I think this is what it is. Once again, fits perfectly in Gauntlet. You can have sword, you can punch someone, and if you need the extra force, you can drive your whole body into it and just punch someone because of the flat power. You can just go right through mail. Or maybe, or of course, a lot of times after thick clothing, which is what they have at that point. So once again, King Gliss here from the One Pounds Armory, just rambling about another really cool sword that I got. And if I have any training videos after I recreate something like this for HEMA use, I'll definitely post that later. Thank you again, guys. See ya.